Hi, everyone. I am so excited for this episode 3 of The Feminine Voice of God. This guest is so incredible. And really, when I saw her page, I honestly just connected with it so much because of the path that she's on. I do want to let you know that during this episode, I was having a lot of issues with microphones and just sound recording. I have done my absolute best to make it as audible as possible. I also do want you to know there might be some background noise. She did have her beautiful daughter there with her. And of course, as those of you with children know, children, they're not respecting the podcast sound quality that we are working with here. So you might hear that because she was just expressing her beautiful childlike self. So definitely bear with the sound. I'm doing everything I can to make it as audible as possible. And this episode is worth a listen regardless. And I do feel that maybe something was even trying to make it to where you couldn't hear very well because of the powerful message that this guest is delivering. So, welcome to episode 3. Thank you for listening.
Welcome to the Feminine Voice of God, a podcast celebrating women's spiritual connections to God, Source, and Spirit, including the mystical and the psychedelic. Join us as we explore women's transformative experiences of divine revelation and spiritual empowerment.
Hello, everyone. I want to welcome you all to the Feminine Voice of God podcast. I am here with Fefe, who is this beautiful soul that I saw her sharing on social media, and I was immediately drawn to what you were sharing. I want to totally get into everything that we can in our 1 hour time that we've got here. I'm sure we'll probably feel like it's not enough, but we're going to get as much as we can in to share with all of the beautiful listeners. So everyone, I want to welcome Fefe.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. This is my first podcast, so I'm a little bit nervous, but a good kind of nervous, and I'm excited to just talk about all the things that are so needed and to get a conversation going. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Of course, absolutely. Thank you for being here. So I want to start by asking you, Fefe, what was, you might have more than one, but what was like the moment or the moments that you really remember that was like awakening for your spiritual journey? What was that for you?
Um, yeah, like you said, I did have many, but the two that really stand out to me was about 10, 11 years ago. I started having a lot of digestive problems, stomach issues, and I went the traditional route to all the doctors, and I was told I was going to suffer for the rest of my life. And I just couldn't accept that answer. So that's when I started diving really deep into herbalism. So I studied herbalism for a number of years. And, I found a little bit of healing there, but I'm like, I need to get to the root cause of what's going on because, the ginger is great. It's helping with my cramps. The fennel is awesome. Like all these things are working, but I'm not finding that feeling that I needed. And one of my mentors introduced me to psychedelics. And once I started diving into working intentionally with such a beautiful sacred medicine, I feel like is when my spiritual journey really started because it really changes your perspective. And I started to just connect the dots that all my symptoms were everything that was going on emotionally in my mind, in my heart, even connected to generational trauma, right? Because all that stuff sits in you. And that was one of my bigger awakenings. And then when I actually became pregnant with my daughter, so it's a really big one too. So my daughter is 21 months, which is so crazy to say. I wake up and I'm like, wow, I'm a mom. Okay. um, I never really wanted children, so when I was pregnant with her, it really made me go to like a insane kind of spiral. I was severely depressed when I was pregnant. I was super depressed when I became or once I gave birth. And for the first 6, 7 months of her life, I didn't feel a connection with her at all, with myself, with my husband, with anything really. And I remember one day I just gave my husband my daughter and I cried for 6 hours straight. Just everything came out and I kind of just stopped and I was like, "Fifi, what is coming?" And not in a victim kind of way, and you have the power to do this, and you have the resources, and you can do it. And I did. I picked myself up every single day. I listened to the podcast, even though it was just in the background. I did little things every single day. I started working more intentionally with mushrooms, and connecting with people, right? I think a lot of people talk about with the village and community. I don't think everyone understands how crucial it is. You can be okay sitting by yourself, but as humans, we're meant to be together. So once I started reaching out and connecting with people, it's just my healing really began, and something awakened inside of me. And I was like, I need to share this with people. And yeah, this is where I am.
I love all of that, Fifi, so much. So I want to actually like pause and like come back to what you said was about plant medicine,
Hmm.
right? Because plant medicine has been so instrumental in my healing and the work that I've done. So, like, I want to know a little bit more about what that experience was like for you, and like what really came up for you when you were using plant medicine and how it helped heal you.
Honestly, plant medicine changed my entire life. It, it was so much more than just drinking a tea or, taking a supplement or being on a protocol. It was connecting with nature, connecting with the divine, connecting with a wisdom that is so beyond, what a Western medicine is. And being able to connect with my mom in a different way because, she told me a story about how her and her mom and her sisters would go by the river and she'd just eat chamomile, you know, right off from the ground. And her mom would give her these mushrooms and they'd drink from the water and like all these memories that she would have of, just working with herbs at such a young age. And it was just so incredibly beautiful. And just knowing that you can heal, with plants that are so beautiful and so magical and all the properties. And, you don't have these crazy side effects. And what I love about plant medicine is that plant medicine is for the people, and that anyone can use it. And it's so accessible, and it's such a beautiful way to really bring people together. Yeah, and I just love the community of the people that work with plant medicine. Like it was so much more than just, uh, hey, take this. It was like, what's going on with your heart, with your mind? Where are you at in life? Like, just all these questions. I was like, whoa, like I'm not used to this. This is so beautiful, but like, like I just wanted something to my stomach hurts. It was so much more than that, So yeah.
I love that, and I love how it's connected to like your lineage, right? Your mom,
Hmm.
like them using plant medicine and not necessarily like psilocybin, right? Which we've used, but other plants, right? The earth creates all this medicine for us, and
Absolutely.
it's like it's bewildering to me how we have all these natural medicines, and yet, like, our society really pushes for pharmaceutical medication,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Oh, you have to take it this way,"
Yeah.
and people that use plant medicine, which I'm sure you've encountered, you get a lot of judgment. You get a lot of people that have lots to say about what you're doing, what you should be doing, why you shouldn't be doing, all the stuff. So that too, it kind of shocks me how something that's growing from the earth, right, can be seen that way, and how people have basically been indoctrinated to believe that that's the poison and that the thing that they buy over the counter is the medicine.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's funny because they use a lot of they try to mimic the compounds of plants to put in pharmaceuticals, right? So when someone tells me they don't believe in plant medicine, I was like, that makes absolutely no sense. Yes.
Yes, yeah, it's so true, and I think that's even what they're doing with some of the more natural plants we use now, even like cannabis. People were smoking weed for a long time, okay?
Hmm.
Now, like, they're taking that and they're switching, like, little pieces of it to where they can then say, "Hey, we've created this compound that we're now gonna sell to you." And I'm sure it's gonna happen with psilocybin as well.
Yes. Yeah.
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 So it is fascinating to see the way in which they take our natural medicines and the things that are healing for the people, like you said, and they turn it into something that can be bought and sold to make money, profit, and just creating like this survival, I think, within people where they need to reach to somebody outside of themselves and outside of the community to be like, oh, I need this company to help me. I need this thing to support and heal my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, that's why these conversations are so important when we talk about what plant medicine is actually about. And the actual properties of, let's say, even cannabis, like here in Canada, weed is legalized. So you can just go to any dispensary and just get weed, but it's all in like the pens and vaporized. So it's completely different. And even when you smoke it, it affects your body so differently than if you were to smoke the natural weed. And like people wonder why they don't feel good on it, or they get all these like crazy brain fog, and people are just not using it properly. I know a lot of people who smoke it 24/7 all the time, and I'm like, it's still a medicine. For me, all plant medicine is sacred medicine. And yeah, that's why these conversations are important, is to help people understand how to use the medicines and not to abuse it, not just to get it from any, I guess, like big company who honestly their only goal is to make money and to make a profit. It was never really about our health. And I also think about psychedelics and how, it's becoming legalized in a lot of places, which is exciting, right? Because more people are seeing what psychedelics are about. It's not just like about getting high, right? But it is scary because you're taking the actual plant, like the mushroom wisdom, away from the people, taking the mushroom, taking the compounds, making something synthetic, and giving it to the people. So I'm just trying to be like that bridge, what it actually means to connect with medicine, to look at the medicine, to feel it, to smell it, to actually taste it. I think people forget how important it is. So yeah, that's why I'm here again, is to kind of open up this really important conversation.
Yes, yes, and I love the way that you talk openly about it on social media and how you share how it is a part of your healing journey, because it always brings me back to my job and the work that I do here in Los Angeles. I work in mental health, and I see where people have, like, cannabis-induced psychosis.
Mm,
So,
yes,
the psychosis, they have these mental health breaks because they're using, weed or those pens and
yes.
those synthetic materials, right? And it's like seeing that. And then also I see this other side of it too, which is like what you're speaking of is where that wisdom is taken from the people and where, we've used it in ways that was honoring the medicine, honoring the wisdom, honoring it as a spirit and as a being that is bringing that information to us, where now I see it as, and I see this in like the therapeutic settings where it's almost like those things are now being gate kept
Yeah.
by
Oh my God.
by
Mm,
owned by people that are clinically trained, right? So I see this even with meditation and yoga, right? I am a meditation and yoga teacher. I have free things on YouTube, but then I like, in mental health, I try to find people resources. And there was this one therapy program I was looking at for people. They're literally charging $300 an hour for meditation. They're charging $300 an hour for a yoga session with a therapist.
yeah.
And I'm thinking like, are these people for real? Is this real? Like, this is really what's happening. They're
Yeah.
turning everything into how can we make the most money off of people's healing? And,
Absolutely.
and it baffles me. So
Yeah.
that's another piece that came up for me right now with what you were sharing.
Yeah. I can relate with that so much. So when I became pregnant with my daughter, my husband lost his job. I had to stop working because I was so sick. We lost our home. Like, there was just a lot of things that were going on. So I was no longer able to take my $700 worth of supplements that I was taking. I was no longer able to go to the yoga, all these things that I was able to do when I was working. I couldn't do it anymore. And for a second, I was like, hey, maybe I can't access it. Like, I can't afford it. And so for a long time, I just completely stopped everything. Like, I stopped just everything, and I tried to reach out to therapy. I couldn't afford it, you know? Nothing was accessible to me, nothing at all, as a new mom, just starting out my life, no financial help whatsoever. Like, we started from below 0, so grateful for that, but that's where we started from, and I was like, "What the heck do I do?" Right? Like, I don't wanna be in the state that I'm in, and that's why I'm on Instagram. That's honestly one of the things I'm the most passionate about, is that everyone deserves healing, not just the rich, right? It's not about the resorts and the retreats and the $500 supplements and, like, the organic like, it's not about that. All those things are nice, little cherry on top, fine, right? But the healing happens when you're at home. What can we give the people that they can do right at home? The mom, right? That all she has is maybe that one corner of her house. You know what I mean? That's the only piece that what can we give her? What resources can we give her? Right? And that's why I love plant medicine so much is, make yourself beautiful tea with chamomile and oak straw and nettles, and it will calm your nervous system and give you the nutrients that you need, especially as a mom, right? When you're running around and you're like, holy crap, I haven't eaten in like 7 hours. That makes it more accessible. With psychedelics, like, I was so depressed and I was suicidal. I would wake up every morning and I just didn't want to be alive, honestly. Um, and I remember with my daughter, when she would look at me, I would force a smile because I knew that she needed it. And it was so fake. And psychedelics just changed my perspective, opened up something in me. Like, life was just so different and it was so accessible. I didn't have to spend $300 on each therapy session. I was just sitting with myself. And I think with Western medicine, that's what they're doing, is they're taking the wisdom away from the person. Like, you don't have the credentials, so you can't sit and meditate by yourself. You can't talk about mental health. And I think that's what I struggled with when I first came on Instagram. I'm like, oh my God, like, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a doctor, I'm not this, I'm not that. And I'm like, Fifi, who cares? That doesn't matter. You're a person with lived experience that healed, and your purpose is just to spread that. I'm not here as a guru, as someone that knows it all. I'm here as like a sister, a student, and just to create community so we can have these conversations in a safe way. And for women to understand that healing is possible. You don't have to look a certain way. You don't have to have the right language or have read all the, it doesn't matter, So yeah, I can so relate with what you said. And I'm so passionate about
Yes, I love that you're sharing the lived experience too, because lived experience is so important and so vital for us to be able to empathize with one another.
it. Absolutely.
Ability to see, hear, and understand somebody from the level of empathy is also deeply healing.
Yes.
And that's what I find with, so many people is, I'm not a therapist. I trained as like a mental health coach and as a first responder for mental health. So people in deep emotional and psychological crisis, like I can support that. However, it's the power of your presence and how you show up in those moments to be able to be present with that pain or that suffering that people are experiencing and saying like, I see you because I have been there and I know through my experience. So I know you and I see you. That is so healing in itself. And you'd be
Absolutely.
surprised, Fifi, how many therapists and even students that I go to hire that have completed a master's, right? They're studying for their doctorate that don't have that. They
Yeah.
don't be like,
Yeah.
don't have the self-awareness, or they maybe haven't experienced something that they're willing to shine the light of awareness on and look at, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's why, with with herbs, like when they say it's the people's medicine, that's what they mean by it. Is that, yeah, it's great to have, someone who has the knowledge and, they've worked with people and they know what they're doing. But to know that, you have like an apothecary behind you, right? Like kind of what I have right here with all my herbs, that I can just pull up a couple things and make myself feel better. If my daughter has a cough, I can make a concoction and make her a syrup and then she'll be okay, right? Like, it's so crucial, it's so important for people to understand that and to make that connection, that between you and your healing, doesn't have to be a person in the middle. It's good to have guides and whatever, but I think it's community is more important than anything, right? It's to be able to talk, to hold each other, to see, all of that stuff is so crucial and so important. I can relate to so much of what you're saying. Like when I first heard about psychedelics, and I was really nervous to use it, right? Because all I ever heard was, mushroom that get you high, trees are gonna start moving, all these things, and I was really scared. So I went to there's like an institute here where I live in my city, and you work with therapists that they give you the mushrooms and all that kind of stuff. And they wanted $5,000. And that completely shattered me because I really wanted to work with psychedelics, and I was like, I can't afford it. And 3 weeks later, that's when I started talking to my mentor about it. And she's like, look, I have the medicine here. And she's the one that taught me how to use it with intention, what integration is all about, what it really means to work with such a sacred medicine. And she's like, the wisdom has always been within you. It's always been there, right? And the mushrooms are just there to kind of open that up for you. Yeah. It's such an important conversation to have with people.
Yeah, no, absolutely it is. And I mean, you just gave the perfect example of how this is taken and they're like, hey, we're going to have only these people can use it and administer it. But we're going to slap this price tag on it that's incredibly expensive and really unaffordable for the everyday person.
Hmm.
And how there are people out there that are working with it where they do make it affordable. And then they do teach
Absolutely.
you the things that are necessary because I'll agree there's people out there that are like, hey, let's just go take some mushrooms or take some
Yeah.
psychedelics and like have a good time. And I've definitely been there and I've been that
Hmm.
person as well. But after years of working with plant medicine, now I'm very much in a space where I'm like, hey, we do preparation before we even take sacred medicine. We do integration after, right?
Yes.
We discuss and we process all of these things because that's where the magic happens, right? Because as powerful and as transformative as it can be, it also requires some discipline and devotion to be able to really integrate those things into your life. So I love that you have that example and you bring that up too, because I
Yeah.
think that's so powerful.
Yeah, definitely. One of my reels that went super viral was obviously about psychedelics. Being an Arab woman talking about it is just not something that you see at all. And my DMs and comments were flooded with, "Where can I get the mushrooms? I want to start doing mushrooms. I want this. I want that." And I was like, we're so programmed to thinking that just a pill is going to fix us. Um, that we just want that quick relief and that quick solution. And I've been having a lot of conversations with people where it's like, with mushrooms, yeah, they'll give you all the beautiful images and you'll see great things and you'll feel really good in the moment. What are you doing after? Those hours later, those days later, that's what matters the most. So I've been talking a lot more about that. And like you said, like the work beforehand, right? Like journaling is huge, right? Meditation, like, are you able to sit with yourself? Like that's so important. Fine, yeah, you pop a microdose or you do a big journey, but have you ever been with yourself by your mind? With your mind, sorry. Like that's so important, so crucial. So when people talk to me about wanting to use mushrooms, I'm like, how's your meditation practice? How do you pray? Um, where do your thoughts go? Right. So all these conversations are so important, even really before working with mushrooms, because I think a lot of people are also not using them with intention. And for me, I'm a really strong advocate for that, of using plant medicine with respect and just understanding how they work with the body. And the goal isn't to be, let's say, on psychedelics forever. The goal is to finally be able to sit with yourself and just take that breath, you know? So that's really what the goal is.
Yes, and you're speaking to my soul, Fifi, when you're saying all this stuff because this is exactly what I really push for anybody that comes to me too with,
Absolutely.
"Hey, I want to plant medicine." I'm like, "Okay, well, in order for you to sit with me to do this, you have to dedicate to 4-week process before." Right?
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, "No, I just wanna take it." And again, it's that quick fix, right? People are looking, they just want something that's quick, the magic pill, the magic thing that my life is gonna be better after I do this. And
Yeah.
yes, I think to some degree, absolutely. And like the preparation journey I do, I'm not asking for perfection. I'm
Mhm.
asking for willingness to step
Definitely.
into that path, right? It includes meditation, it includes journaling, it includes rituals that honor you the planet Earth, the mother that created the plant medicine, right? And connection to the divine or God, whatever that is for each individual.
Yeah,
So,
that gives me goosebumps. 100%. That's yeah, yeah, you said it
yeah,
all right there.
yeah. So definitely something that you speaking this, Fifi, just I feel like we're on that same frequency and that same energy, and I think the medicine is asking us. It's asking us to have people walk the path with intention, with discipline, with devotion, because it does take integrating those changes and actually making shifts in your life, not just thinking like it's going to be this magic pill that I'm going to change. Yes, it will. It will change you, but you have to also follow through and be disciplined enough to
Yeah.
follow that.
The mushrooms show you who you can be, right? What the potential is. If you don't practice that every single day, a lot of people fall even deeper. When they talk about like a bad trip or anything like that, you're inside your mind for 5, 6 hours, and if you've never been with your mind by yourself, it's really, really difficult. And you see all these amazing things, and you wake up, you're like, "Oh, I'm healed." But then a week goes by, and you're still doing the same things you're doing from before. You're still having the same conversations, exposing yourself to the same things. Nothing has changed. And I've seen a lot of people, honestly, become more depressed, more sick than what they were before their mushroom. So again, yeah, that's why this is so important. This is so crucial to have these conversations, right? Because I think again, the idea of emotions like this fun thing. It's like no, it's so sacred. Like it's to be respected. Um, yeah. So like it's just so important to talk about this. And I've after my last mushroom journey that I had, I felt really called to talk about the importance of working with psychedelics, working with plant medicine, connecting with nature, with meditation, all these things all together. It's not just one thing, right? You're healing holistically. It's all the things that you put together that you do, all the little things you do every single day.
Yes, I completely agree. And I know that's the hardest thing for people is that integration. And, I call it, or, as other people call it, it's not my invention, but like a daily sadhana, right? It
Mm,
requires discipline. But, also, I don't know if you've experienced this before, but I experienced this in ceremony with people when they get stuck in a loop, and we're stuck in the loop of samsara, which is the life and death cycle happening
mm,
over and over and over. And that I find happens for a lot of people when they're stuck in the loop of the mind, uh,
mhm,
stuck in patterns of behavior, right?
mhm,
Not able to sit with their self like you're talking about, right? It's like unconscious, and your energy is just being recycled through the universe. You're being born and you die. You're being born and you die. You're being born and you die, without having consciousness. Conscious, it's like you can stop that loop and that cycle from happening. Which is fascinating. So has that ever happened for you? Have you experienced that?
yeah, not for myself, but I've definitely seen it with other people. That's why, again, preparation is so important because when you do the work, when you make an intention. So when you're doing specifically like a mushroom journey, um, I've experienced times where I didn't want to face what it was that the mushrooms were showing me, and it doesn't go away. It becomes more and more painful. It becomes bigger and bigger. You feel it more. You see it more. Um, until you finally go through it and you face the things that you need to face. Right. So I've experienced it in that way where, like I'll see like the first thing I'm supposed to face, and I'll have so much resistance where I'm just like, no. Like I remember, like my first month in I'm like, no, 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 like I just didn't. I wanted nothing to do with it, and it really hurt. Like it really did. Like the resistance, and just trying to ignore it. But I was like, I think after like I don't know how long it was. Obviously, when you're doing your journey, it feels like forever. But eventually, I was like, I have to go through it. Like, that's where the healing is. And as things start coming up, there was less resistance and less resistance and less resistance. So when people ask me about doing specifically like actual journey, the reason why preparation is so important, especially meditation, is that you have like the practice of like, sitting with your thoughts, uh, really letting go, of surrendering, of not judging yourself when things come up, of finding that love of being present. So yeah, and I've seen people who have done their journeys and they haven't even been able to overcome what it was that they needed to overcome, and I think that's when a lot of people hit a really dark period. And I don't think enough people talk about that. I think even especially practitioners, right? I don't want to say dangers, but what really happens when working with psychedelics isn't a holistic practice, isn't just encompassing everything together, you know?
Yes. No, I completely understand. And I think there is definitely practitioners and people out there, that are using the medicine as like a quick transformative tool for people and not really like we are talking about, like doing any kind of preparation work to receive the medicine to prepare, the body, the mind, the vessel for what it's going to bring. And you're so right. Like it really amplifies what's already going on for us. So there's times even when, I let people know, I'm like, hey, coming from my own space of understanding, like this is outside of my scope. And, I would recommend that you do find some professional support. And I think that's super powerful too. And there's a lot of, practitioners and people that will kind of, you know, spiritually bypass
Yeah.
and say, no, you need to come back for more, or, oh, you need to just, do this or do that, which is all just like trying to say, hey, just step into the spiritual more. When really sometimes the mind and the body needs, and I see this as the mind because we're so like integrated into this world that we do have to sometimes take like those steps in reality to really be able to meet those dark pieces, whether that's getting professional support or finding somebody else that you can sit and talk with. And I love that you brought up community because community is so important too when you're using plant medicine. I feel like, and it's not to say that everyone can't do this at some point, but doing the medicine on your own really takes a lot of inner work to be able to sit with it completely by yourself.
Yeah.
And when you do it in community with other people or people that have been there and can support that process,
Mhm.
that's so needed. It's so
Yeah.
needed. So I completely understand that part too.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree with that. When I first started my healing journey, I'd always say, like, I just want to live in the middle of nowhere by myself. I'd always say that. I'm like, it would be so nice if I could just meditate all day and not talk to anybody. And I just came to realization I was like, that's not how as humans we're programmed. That's not what our souls need. We need that community, that togetherness, And I think especially as a woman, like women sitting together has really been made a joke. When you think about like reality shows where women sit together and they gossip, or you think about a few hundred years ago where women were called witches and were killed. Like the the magic and the wisdom of women sitting together has really been taken away from us. Um, like I remember, and this is something that really triggered me um, a few months ago, where I was telling my brother, I was like, yeah, like I'm thinking about doing a women's circle. He's like, oh, you guys are just gonna sit and gossip. And he meant it like hardly and like whatever, like the jokes are on, I understand. But I was like, this is what's happening is that it's it's been made like a joke and even women don't really want to get together anymore. So to heal that part is so important to bring the togetherness of wise women. And when I say wise women, I don't mean, again, it's not about credentials, it's not about any of that. It's about just sitting there and opening your heart and your mind and listening. You don't have to say anything, just holding space for somebody, and just understanding that like a shift needs to happen. And you're here, right? That's the first and most beautiful thing. So yeah, community is crucial. It really is. Like don't get me anyone can really sit there and sit and have a meditation and journal for hours and you're good by yourself. But what happens when you step out for work, right? What happens, like, how do you speak with your family? How do you take things in? Like, what is your day to day? What does that look like, right? So that's why I talk a lot about creating a sisterhood, and especially being Lebanese myself, like the sister wound trauma is deep and it's so real, where relationship, especially between Arab women, has been just completely shattered. Where it's been just completely shattered, right? Where there's no trust. When I put up my first women's circle, a lot of the women, especially Arab women, were like, we want to be a part of it, but we're scared that if someone we know is there and they'll judge us. So, and I understood that so much because you want to know something funny, and this is me being raw and vulnerable. When I started sharing on Instagram and I started getting comments from like Arab women, I got this feeling in my body. It was like danger, danger, and I was like, oh my God. It's like I still have a little bit of it too within myself, you know, and that's so important to not hold any shame, but to be able to bring awareness to that. Be like, okay, that's where my healing is. This is where I'm going. You know? So yeah, community is everything, especially for women, especially for women. We've always done everything together, you know? So it's time to feel that.
Yes. No, I love that you bring that point up and that you are getting vulnerable about, like, your own life and your own experience because I think we as people, women, men experience it in as well, just in their own way. But, I feel like that shame even like from family, from friends.
Yes.
Like, hey, like, I'm gonna post this. What are people gonna say? What are people gonna think? What if people don't like it? What if people don't approve? And that's my own training from life of hiding my light that has been put onto me from others. I think too, like your story, right, of being an Arab woman and also using psychedelics, like voicing everything that you're voicing on your social media, right? I'm sure, like, for a lot of people, like, in your I'm not sure if you guys call it faith or what it would be called, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure it's really controversial, Like, I'm sure that that's, like I don't know, if I'm getting this right, but I'm pretty sure it's not okay, you know?
You know what? Yeah. Yeah. So I'm Muslim.
Mhm.
Um, and I've had a lot of religious trauma. A lot of religious trauma. My ex-husband was actually part of like a cult. Um, and I was kind of stuck in that for 12 years. And I honestly didn't realize how much it affected me till like 2 years ago, where I was like, holy crap. Like I was even scared to say the word God, like to say Allah in Arabic. Like I was terrified. I couldn't even say it. Um, my family was always more spiritual. They considered themselves Muslim, but my parents were always spiritual. They would always say, as long as you have a good heart, never judge anybody, love everyone, no matter where they're from. Like I've always grown up with that. And meeting my ex-husband when I was 16 years old and just seeing something so different. And you're 16, right? You want to be accepted. It's your first love, whatever. I want to find my connection to the divine with love, right? And whatever it is that I choose to do, I want to do it with love, right? So I don't want to leave my religion, right? Which I've always really had a connection with because of fear, because of the thoughts of other humans, right? Let me look at it through love, through compassion, what it really means to have a connection with your creator, with the divine, with God. It doesn't even matter what you call it. What does it mean to completely surrender to something that you can't see but you can feel? And so that's been my goal. And talking about psychedelics and also talking about God, I have gotten some pretty intense DMs, a lot of threats, actually, like a lot of threats. But I'm like, okay, you know what? This is where the healing needs to happen because I've had a lot of people reach out to me saying that psychedelics have helped them with their connection with God, the universe, with the creator, with something bigger. And it helped me too. It really did. And it's been such a beautiful journey. And it's still very like fresh. And it's the beginning of my healing journey with religion and, with God specifically. And but working with plant medicine, which, God put on earth for a reason. It's here for a reason. The trees are here, the sun, like God made everything for us so beautiful for a reason. That the sun can just make you feel so calm and serene. The sound of the water can just make you forget where you are. Like smelling the trees is just all these things that He made for us to connect with, And I think psychedelics, people are just scared of what they don't know. It's really that simple. I think for a while I was scared to talk about it because I knew the backlash. Because when I started talking about yoga,
Mm.
my mom came up to me and she's like, "Don't do that, it's haram," which means like sinful. She's like, "You can't talk about yoga, like we don't do that." And I was like, "That's like absolutely insane." So it's just like yoga, like moving your body. But you know, my mom was just hearing all these stories of how demons can possess your body when you do yoga, like all these things, right? Where I'm like, holy, like what I'm doing is exactly where I need to be to shift this conversation and to really change the narrative of what it means to believe in God, to believe in something higher. If it doesn't make you a more loving person with a more open heart, then you took a wrong direction somewhere. Yeah, that's kind of been my journey so far. And talking about religion and psychedelics has been really interesting, but I've also met the most incredible humans and had the most beautiful conversations. So I feel really blessed.
Yes, yes, and even, like, I mean, you dropped so much incredible information in there that, like, I love. And I remember you sharing something on your social media about for every person that is sending you, like, some hateful comments or angry comments, you also have these people that are having this beautiful experience.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And you know what? Like I'm human, so when I was getting those comments, it was really getting to me. And my husband's like, "Hey, just go meditate, go journal, go do all the things that make you feel better and ground yourself and keep reminding yourself why you're doing this." But it wasn't until I got those comments, and it wasn't just, "Oh, I'm right." It was, "I feel seen, I feel heard, I feel held, like this is important what I'm doing." So that's why again, going back to community is just it's so crucial and it's so important to talk with, like-minded people or even people that are curious or even people that are a little bit scared, but are still kind of watching some from the sidelines. It's so important.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And, I grew up in a really religious type of teaching and home as well, so a lot of things, weren't okay either, psychedelics definitely not. It was like a Christian style, so, in the Bible, they believe that yoga, you're not supposed to do yoga. I wasn't even allowed to drink caffeine, I'm here drinking my little coffee, like, and,
Yeah. Yeah.
these things that I see it as, like, they're like these blinders that are put on us to keep us from actually connecting with the divine ourself, right?
Absolutely.
Like,
Absolutely.
you need this middleman or this person to be able to connect with that,
Yeah, yeah.
and I'm
Just
like,
like we were talking about with plant medicine, right? How they're trying to put a middleman between you and the healing and the wisdom. It's the same thing with religion. It's like they're trying to cut your connection with the divine, and there's nothing more beautiful, nothing more powerful than that. And I think especially why they do it to women.
yeah, and I think us as women, we're literally the portal,
Absolutely.
human beings, souls to come to this planet. I mean, look at this beautiful soul that keeps popping up with us. Water, like, it's like these beautiful beings and these souls that get to come to this planet to experience life and experience the divine. Because for me, all of it is part of the divine. Even the stuff that we don't really want to experience, those things we try to push away, right? That's all part of it. It's like the dance of the light and the dark of God. And
Absolutely.
for me too, it's also that, like, those people that are coming that are trying to stop that from happening, like, that's part of the process and the lesson too. It's like, "Okay, you're dedicated, Fifi. Are you gonna show up when I send all these people to tell you that you're wrong, to make you feel less than, to trigger you? Are
Yeah.
you still gonna show up and share the light and share your story?"
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. 110%. I totally agree with all of that, honestly. Yeah, and you know what? Like with when I first started posting again about psychedelics and it's when I started talking more about religion specifically, and I had some really intense comments, like really hateful, and I felt myself getting really triggered, and I just wanted to be just as mean, honestly. Like, I'm like, "Hey, let me just give them what they deserve." And I was like, "No, Fifi, like, you wanna live with love, through love, and shine your light." And so my comments, it's either I don't respond at all or I just give a loving comment back. It's really just that simple. Like, you you project what you do feel on the inside, right? And sometimes it takes practice. So I think for me, I had at the beginning I had a lot of shame going on Instagram because I was like, I'm not as healed as I want to be. I'm not this perfect person. Like, I've hurt people, and I've had a lot of people tell me, like, "Who do you think you are? Like, you've done, like, these things," or, like, whatever it was. And it wasn't until I forgave myself and I showed myself that love that I was able to give it to everybody else. So when people do leave me those comments, again, I really do empathize where they're coming from. Like, I get it.
Yes. Yeah, and I love that you said that right now because sometimes I've gotten that, and my initial impulse is like, "Oh, like, I should get back at this person and say something, just as hurtful or smart, alecky or whatever it is."
Yes. Yeah.
Um, but then I sit with it, right? And I'll meditate too. I meditate, I sit with it, I process, like, what feelings are coming up, and it always leads me back to just giving them love. It's like they need
Yeah.
love.
And that's where the healing is for us, right? Like, it's such a blessing. Triggers are such a blessing. And that that sentence alone changed my entire life because, like I was saying earlier, I would sit in my meditation for an hour and I felt amazing, you know, beautiful and blah, blah, and I had meditation music. And then I talked to my mom and she'd say something and I was like, oh, are you kidding me? Like, well, like, what did I meditate for? Like, I'd get so angry. And then it wasn't until I started diving deeper into what triggers really are that I was able to do so much healing and just really understand and realize that a lot of our relationships are like such a mirror to what's going on the inside. And whenever a trigger comes up in my heart, I'm like, thank you. Thank you. This is where I need to go. Thank you. Thank you. And some days are hard because those triggers are, whoo, they can really get you. But again, yeah, you just see with gratitude and give yourself compassion. I think a lot of people who, uh, either are practitioners or talk about things we talk about have shame admitting they're humans, but that's how people can relate to you. Is that, yeah, you've done all the work, as much work as possible. It can never really end, and you're able to have these like, engaging and beautiful conversations. At the end of the day, your mom said something, it really freaking pissed you off, and took you a while to get over it, and that's okay.
Yes, and I love that you're bringing up this point too. I literally saw something like this on social media where it was talking about how we can have this love, this compassion, this empathy, understanding for strangers or for people that we just met, right? But what about those people that have been in your life for years? Family members, your friends, your partner, your child. Do you bring that same understanding? It's just another beautiful reminder. I love how, like, this stuff, it's just like, it's not coincidence. It's the confirmation that this information needs to be shared. It's a reminder for me that you're sharing this information too, because that's the practice, right? And that's the practice of meditation is constantly coming back, turning the mind and coming back to that moment or that space of peace and presence and doing that with other people also. So I love that you bring that up right now.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. I can relate to that, and that's what we need. That's what we want. We want to be able to relate, right? So let's just be relatable. Let's just talk about all the things, right? And with working with psychedelics, honestly, my last mushroom journey, like when I woke up, I was like, I need to share this. Like just all this stuff I need to share. I need to have a conversation. I need to get this going. And I also have a lot of empathy for people who are not there yet. Again, when I was talking about my women's circle, a lot of the women want to be a part of it, but they're terrified. Even when I told them that they don't have to have their cameras on, they can use a fake name, they can mute, that they're just like, I love the idea and I'm gonna keep following you, but I'm just not ready for that yet. And at first I was like, okay, like what? Right? And I was like, Titi, okay, where's this judgment coming from? And I was really able to dive deep into that because when I first started my healing journey, I was the same, where I was just absolutely terrified, where I was kind of curious, but I needed to be on the sidelines for a little while, you know? So yeah, not to like it's just not to force anyone to do anything, right? To be yourself, to be relatable, to be authentic, and the right people will come to you in their own time.
Yes. No, I totally agree. And I think what you're doing, Fifi, and how you're showing up is so powerful. So powerful. And me finding you, I mean, I saw like one post of yours and it was about psychedelics and about you being a Muslim woman and everything. And I was like, oh, instant follow. Instantly, because the authenticity and the vulnerability was so powerful that, like, I was like, I have to follow this woman. She's doing the work that we need. So it was, what you're doing, I want you to know regardless, and I'm sure you know this, but regardless of how many people show up, even if it's one person, it's like that in itself is incredibly powerful. And I see
Yeah,
it for I mean, you're changing people's lives. They might not be telling you and they are telling you also, but it's happening. It's happening, Fifi.
thank you. I appreciate that. That is so kind. For a long time, it was really hard for me to receive any of that. Um, but I am definitely working on receiving a lot more, right? Because I feel like, especially for a lot of us women who are in this, this field of helping others, but we give so much. We're so used to giving that when it's time for us to receive, we have that block. But again, right, you dive deep into that. Like, why do you have it? Where do you need love? Where do you need healing? Like, where do you need to sit with yourself a little bit longer? So I really appreciate it. And I am just so blessed and filled with gratitude, honestly, to where my life is now, to where all this connection that I've been having with you and with so many other women and even with men too. It's been so incredible. It's been so absolutely incredible. And for me, it's also important for me to point out that I'm also not anti men. A lot of the men that I've been talking with, especially in the Arab culture, it's important to understand that the relationship between the feminine and the masculine is also super wounded. And for me, my goal is not to hate men, to shame men, is to bring us back together. Because, feeling the feminine is great and it's so important, it's crucial in that sisterhood, 100%. But let's also leave some room for the men, for their healing, like that understanding, right? And also like that empathy. We don't just extend it to our sisters, but also to our brothers too, that are also going through that same pain. And I think, especially on social media lately, like the last few years, there's been a lot of hate when it comes to the masculine, to the men. So I'm also trying to shift that a little bit to bring change there too.
Yes, I love that you're doing that, Fifi. And this point that you bring up is so important because our men and our brothers do need love, healing, support, empathy for what they've been through and the way that they have been indoctrinated. It's so powerful and they are our protectors.
Mhm.
They are the beings that were sent here to not only protect the feminine and the children, but the planet. They are her warriors. And, like,
Absolutely.
we have been brainwashed basically to operate in a system just like we have, that we weren't meant to really live and exist and thrive in. So I love that you bring this point up, and honestly, some of my biggest supporters on social media are men.
Yes, me too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the men, and I love it. I love seeing them because they're connecting to that energy. They have a power in their presence. They exude love and they protect from a place of awareness. And it's so powerful to see them. And I love shifting that narrative too. And there's this beautiful quote that says, I'm probably not going to get it exact, but it says something like women need to sit with women who have healed perspectives of men
Ooh,
and
that gave
men
me
need to
goosebumps.
sit with that's the confirmation. And men need to sit with men who have healed perspectives of women,
Oh,
you know?
yeah. Yeah, wow. I literally have goosebumps all over my body. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. 110%.
Yes.
110%. I feel so blessed to have my husband in my life. When we went on our first date, He's also Arab. And I was like, "Look, I heal in psychedelics. I have a tree. I like to walk barefoot. Like, this is how I heal. If you're not down with it, then I'm not the person for you." He's like, "I don't understand it, but okay, like teach me, show me. Like, what is this all about?" And his openness and his willingness to learn and him able to protect me in a way from, like, other people's judgments where he's like, "That's my wife, she knows what she's doing. Like, you guys have no idea how much she's healed. You guys have no idea the conversations that we have. She's so strong." Like, having it makes me, like, emotional. Having him by my side and saying those things is like, holy crap, like, I've never felt that in my entire life, you know? So, yeah, it's important. It's important to have a good man by your side. It's important to have brothers by it's crucial. Like, we're all in this together, and it's so important that like, not to forget that, and yeah, to just show love to everybody, everyone. We're all going through things, and for a long time, I hated all men. I I had a lot of issues with my dad, a lot of issues with my brother, and it wasn't until I did my first mushroom journey, and my first mushroom journey was really centered around generational healing, and I was able to see my dad as a little boy and just understand what his real essence is and like where he was really coming from, right? And just seeing like my brothers, like so yeah, like it just changes everything for you. And to look at your parents especially and to realize that they're doing the best that they can with what they have, truly. Or at least I speak from my own experience with my parents. Yeah, just to find that forgiveness within them and seeing my dad as a little boy and holding his hand and him showing me all the pain that he went through and helping him get to the other side was so incredible and so healing. And in that specific mushroom journey, I saw my entire lineage from my dad's side, the masculine, the men. And it was so incredible. And I shared this with my dad. I actually shared my mushroom journey with my dad. And I remember my sisters were like, "Are you sure?" I was like, "Yeah." And my dad sat with me and he literally had tears in his eyes. And he made the joke, he's like, "You should write a book and make a lot of money." But he's like, "That's absolutely incredible." He's like, "All the things that you're saying are actually true, all the things that you saw." He's like, "We had an aunt like this, we had, like, just some things that I saw." He's like, "How the heck did you know that?" You know? So healing that part with my dad, I really realized that as a woman, our healing cannot happen without our men. It just can't happen, right? So, yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's so powerful what you just shared, Fifi. Like, I feel emotion coming up for me, even with what you're sharing, because of how powerful that is to go through that lineage and enter the field of like that generational pain and trauma and being able to walk through it with presence to bring healing to the now. And I'm
100.
sure like as you've been healing and working on yourself, you probably see it like rippling out through your family.
Oh,
And it's fascinating.
100%. And generational healing is honestly another big passion of mine because we hold so much of our ancestors' pain within us, within our hearts, and then it manifests into physical symptoms. And it's important to understand where you're coming from, where your ancestors, like, especially being Arab, being Lebanese. My country has been in war since, I don't know, forever. You know what I mean? So my family has been in survival up until, honestly, until me. Even my siblings are still in survival, even though they're not in war. That's all they've been taught. Hurry up and do this as fast as you can. Don't be present with it. We gotta go, 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 go. Oh, you have this money, keep it, or just spend it, spend it, spend it. Like there's no presence, there's no slowing down. There's always like we have to go, 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 go. And then when there is that moment to sit, there's no actual real presence because you just want to distract yourself from the pain. So you scroll, you do all. So I see it 110%. I see it. And that's why this work is so important to me because I look at my daughter And I'm like, this is why I'm doing this. And I've had this conversation with my sisters, and I'm like, this is why I'm doing this, right? And I think for a long time, I was like, hey, it's my job to heal my entire family, right? And I took on that, like, that role, and that was painful because it's like, you can't force anyone. I was like, if you just, again, be yourself, be authentic, live your life like you want to live your life with love, with joy, with abundance in every single sense of the word. And people will feel that energy. They'll either gravitate towards you or they won't. Maybe they'll come back later. Honestly, who cares? So yeah, generational healing is everything, especially in especially in my culture. It's, not just within my immediate family, even with my extended family too. It's all the same thing. It really is. There's so much similarities with. I see my aunts, my mom's sisters, such a copy paste of each other with the way they do things, the way that they raise their own children. I'm also really close with my dad's sister. I always joke with her. I'm like, my mom and dad were meant to meet, so you and I could be in each other's lives. She's like my soul sister. She's the such an incredible human being, and a lot of the conversations with her have been so healing. And I've been able to understand my father more in that side of the family, and it's been so incredible. It's been. I'm just getting this like wave of gratitude right now, honestly, as I'm talking about this stuff. Yeah.
Yes. I love all of that and how it all connects and that healing, it ripples out and transfers to other members of the family. And they then get the opportunity to connect to who they authentically are and remember that, right? And it does require like a willingness or like a consent to be willing to do that, right? Like you're 100% right. And I experienced this in ceremony too with people. Like people can show up, but if they're not like, yes, like I consent to healing to this process, it's like it's there, but it doesn't go as deeply as it could for individuals because there is that resistance like you're talking about, right? To hold on
Yes.
to that story, to that pain, because it does give us an identity, right? And that's part of
Yes.
the ego. Like it gives you an identity that's built around the pain. And you're
Yeah.
so right about the survival too. Like we are taught to be go, 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 do things quickly, right? Even like you said, the scrolling, right, is a distraction from the now. And we have all these people now in our world that are suffering from like all these mental things happening. And it's like because they're constantly on, they're constantly distracted, they're constantly activated. And being constantly activated, like our nervous system, like it burns out. We need
Mhm.
those moments where we feel safe, where we
Yeah.
can be instant digest. That's so important.
Mhm.
So I love that you bring all those points up too. It's so vital and important for people to know.
Yeah, definitely. I wanna expand a little bit on what you said about holding on to the identity. I can relate so much with that. I was always the girl with the stomach problems. I was always the girl with anxiety. Come hear my really traumatic stories, like, I wanna share it, I wanna talk about it. This is who I am, this is why I am the way that I am, and I held on to that for so long, and it's important to realize, right, to understand that, yes, like, this stuff has happened to you 1, 2, 3, 4, and, all that kind of stuff, but it's also important to understand that you're not meant to be this person forever, that the little girl that was 5, 6 years old that decided that she needs to protect herself from everybody, she was wise at that age to do that, right? But the woman who's 32 now understands that then that no longer serves her, so she needs to let that go, So for a long time, I wanted to hold on to all of that because made me who I was, right? It's like,
Mhm.
who am I without all these things? Who am I without my anxiety? Who am I without all this pain? Like, what do I do? Happiness? What? Joy? What does that even mean? And it's freaking terrifying. It really is. It's absolutely terrifying. So I can empathize with so many people. I have someone in my life right now who I love dearly, it's been really tough to watch them in that cycle of holding on to that. It's absolutely heartbreaking. But again, all I can do is just hold space, and understand my own triggers in that moment. and just allow them to just be. So yeah, it's that's been a really big part of my healing, of my journey. Honestly, I'm still kind of in that process to where I'm like, okay, if you feel like it's okay, you can let go. Like that little girl is fine now. Like it's fine. And I think also part of letting go is forgiveness, and also letting go of that shame. I think especially as women, we hold on to shame so deeply in like every single part of our body, and just to not be ashamed of the person you have to be to survive. When I was pregnant and I was deeply depressed, I did not want to talk to anyone. I wasn't able to give the advice I usually gave. I wasn't able to be that Fifi that was always there for everybody. I shut everyone up completely. I was mean because I couldn't handle myself. I couldn't handle any external anything. And it wasn't until I forgave her and I was like, she was just trying to survive. I was able to kind of move forward. And also to have, like we were talking about, have that empathy from all the other women around us, right? Especially when you see them during that period of their life, to be like, okay, like I'm just gonna hold space. I'm just gonna let her be.
Yes. Oh, I love so much of what you just said, especially the piece of, like, forgiving and holding space for that person that we had to be to survive. I love that so much because I think that definitely, like, people feel shame, people feel guilt for the choices they made, the things they did, and it just brings back to another point that you made of people are doing the best that they can with the information, the level of consciousness that they're at, and the awareness that they have at that time and in that moment of their life. And our hearts, we protect it, and our parents, family members, so many people do that. They close the heart to protect, and
Yes.
sometimes consciously put pain and hurt onto others because of that. Yeah, so I love so much of that. And two, I wanna, like, just bring it back to the point we were making about the men because I think, like, I wanna say to any men that are listening to this, because 'cause I'm sure there are some men, even though it's called the feminine voice of God, you guys are welcome here, and you are
Yes.
such a big part of our healing. We're such a big part of your healing, and we can't do it without each other. We have to have each other. I mean, it's the sacred union of us 2 and our energies together, that and honoring that. So, I wanted to just bring that back for anyone that's listening, for the men, and how powerful it is, like, to have 2 women that I also used to be very much in a space of hating men because of what I went through as a child,
Yep.
that
Relate.
here now and have so much love that women that are healing and that are healed are out there. And the women that are stepping into their divine feminine are out there, and we are here, and we need you awakened, men, and we need you to step into your
Yes.
sacred masculine because we're counterparts that need each other. So I wanted to just bring that point again because I think it's so powerful and it brings tears to my eyes even just thinking about it. But I love that you brought that up, Fifi. So thank you.
Yeah, 100%. We freaking love you, man. We really do. Like
We
it's
need
it's
you.
so
We love you.
important. Yes, it's so important to say that. I think a lot of women are shamed for talking about how much they love their husbands. I have personally, whenever I include my husband in like my reels or anything like that, I get shamed for it. And it's just for me, it's so strange. But then I kind of go back to the empathy reel. Like, okay, I understand like where this is coming from, and yeah, I'm so blessed to again to have my husband in my life. It has opened up my heart to so much. When I first got into my relationship with him, I had a lot of blocks, right, to my previous marriage, which is, not healthy at all. And I fought my husband so hard for everything. I had no trust at all in him. Couldn't, because it's what I was taught my entire life. And one point he's like, "Katie, but I'm not them." He's like, "Just give me time." He's like, "Just let me show you." He's like, "I'm not gonna be perfect either." I was like, "He's right." So, even having that compassion for myself and, like, he had the patience to just give me the time to heal all those things that were coming up that it's funny because when I first met him, I was like, "I'm all healed, like, I'm good." I say that all the time, right? And when him and I got together and, a healthy man, right, was in front of me, I didn't know what to do with it. I wasn't used to it. I had no clue. And so much came up for me. It was incredible. And him and I have been working through so much together. And, we microdosed together. He did a journey, I did a journey. And it's been so absolutely incredible. And that's why I'm such an advocate of men and women getting together and having these conversations. And I was also talking to my husband too. It was like the conversations that you're having with other men. Like that's so important. Like what men are you surrounding yourself with? Right? It's great that you're like on this journey and all that kind of stuff. But if you have men that are talking about things that just don't align with you, you you take some of that in always, right? Um, so yeah, him and I have been having a lot of conversations about what it really means to bring the feminine and the masculine together. And a really big part of his healing was he watched me go through postpartum depression, right? He was by my side. And he's like, Fifi, watching you come out of that through the work with plant medicine and your meditations and all of that, he's like, I realize how powerful women can be. And I'm so glad that I could be by your side to support you. And I'm like, that's what it's all about, right? Is to, for not to be afraid of the power within us and to have the men not be afraid either. That's what it's been, right? For a really long time is that there was that fear, even on both sides, right? So
Yes. I love everything that you just shared, and it's so powerful, Fifi. And thank you for sharing all of that. I want to ask you, we're getting ready to close here. So I want to know from you if there was one message that you could leave with the world and with the listeners here that are spread all over the world. What would that be?
one message, mm, go with love. I know it sounds cliche and it sounds cheesy, but love heals all. It really does. Self love. There's so much love for the ones that have hurt you, love for the ones that love you the most, love for the divine, love for the creator, love for God, love for your children, love for nature, love for plants, just love so deeply. Love with all your heart and keep your heart open, because the right people will come to you and you'll understand really what it really means to have connection, what it really means to be a part of something, you know? So yeah, I would say love. It's all about love.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That's an incredible message. And I want to thank you, Fifi, for being here and for being willing to step into the space with me and being vulnerable and open with your journey and with your story. I think you dropped so much powerful information, and I'm really excited for when I'm going to share this. I'm just so excited for the people that get to hear this. And I want to know, of course, I will put your information in the show notes so people can find you. But where can people connect with you if they're inspired by you? Where can they find you? Where can they follow you? And support your journey.
Yeah, right now I'm mostly just on Instagram, dabbling a little bit in TikTok, but I'm mostly just on Instagram, sharing my story, connecting with people. I'm also in the process of creating a membership, a sisterhood outside of Instagram where we can have these important conversations in a safe place, right? Because social media, especially Instagram, you have people from all walks of life there. But yeah, so I just want to create a container where this stuff can happen. I'm also working on a few one-on-one programs, a few offers. Still right in the beginning of it. Again, it's Ramadan. I'm fasting, so we're just going a little bit slower, going with the flow here. And again, I'm just surrendering everything to God, to the divine, and just having complete trust. And whenever this is going to come out, it's going to be the perfect time. So I also wanted to thank you so much for having me on here. Honestly, this has been so fun. I loved even our conversations we had before the podcast over Instagram. I just felt such a connection with you right away. And yeah, I'm just so blessed and I'm sending you lots of love.
Thank you, Fifi, so much. I feel so blessed and honored too, and I'm so happy that we got to connect. And like I said, I was instantly drawn to you and your energy. So I'm excited for you, for everything that you're creating and everything that you're becoming and stepping into. Yeah, and I look forward to more connection with us. because I can see that coming too. So thank you for being here.
Definitely. Thank you, sis.
Thank you for tuning in to the feminine voice of God. May the divine feminine within you continue to guide and inspire your spiritual journey. Stay connected, share your insights, and embody the wisdom shared on our podcast. Until next time, may the sacred essence of the feminine illuminate your path.